What is up, Live Reality Games? It is Santi, and I am here to recap episode 2. I'm going to join this kerfuffle. I had to practice that a couple times because I could not say it correctly. With some amazing special guests. First up, we have Coach Drew. What's up, Coach?
How are you doing? Kerfuffle. There we go.
Okay. All the words. All right. And then next up, we have the host, creator, and man behind pretty much everything, Will. What is up, Will?
Hey, what's up? I'm wearing the buff because the hair was not hairing. And I had to wear the buff because I was like, I can't be on this live looking more busted than I already do. So
is that the merge buff?
You'll see.
Spoiler. All right, guys. So let's talk about episode 2. What a kerfuffle. All right, so Matt leaves. Baka Laka comes back. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, we get a little bit of the fallout for it, and I had to go back and watch the first episode just kind of see where people's headspaces were with that. And I mean, it's the same of like, oh yeah, it was hard, but we got through it, and now we move on, and let's not lose the next challenge. And I did appreciate the fact that we only really got a brief moment of that fallout, and we just jumped right into the challenge because it's like, hey, we want to win the next challenge. Let's just jump to the challenge and find out if we do.
Yeah, and it was a pretty much unanimous vote. I mean, it was kind of like, we got rid of the hurt guy. Let's go. It's not any deeper than that.
R.I.P. Matt.
It's very sweet. Very sweet guy.
Yep. Okay, so we hear a little bit from Amir talking about how Gibble messed up the story and the lie. What do you guys think? Like, is it gonna explode soon?
I hope so. I'm not one for drama. I got my Myers-Briggs is the mediator. I don't like mess if I'm involved in it. But I'm not involved in this, so I need to see this blow up. And I need to see it blow up soon. Now, spoilers, it doesn't really blow up in this episode, but a lot of the stuff that happened last episode at the summit does impact how things happen in this episode. So I do feel like when I want to say inevitably, but I don't think that both parties are going to make it to the next stage of the game. But inevitably, when all of the tea is shared in one forum, that things might blow up, and that would make for great shit.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting little droplets of stuff to come.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, because what I was interested in when I was obviously there at the summit, I said you guys have 5 minutes, and you saw the hourglass. Like, I was kind of shocked that they didn't use the entire time. The whole point, and you started to see it with this summit, was this is the only chance in the game that you can have a one-on-one conversation without anyone seeing it, and you can talk and you can say whatever the hell you want. You don't have anyone looking at you. And I thought Amir and Gibble were going to use that to be like, hey, what's the vibe on your tribe? Let's chat. But it was like, oh yeah, you can have it. Okay, I'm going to take it. And he's like, yeah, but let's do ship wheel. And then ran off. And then they wonder why they can't get their story straight. Well, you spent 20 seconds on the story. And you wonder why it's falling apart already.
Girl, we would have been reciting that story line by line. This is what we're saying.
Jumping the gun to this episode's group, they do sit that like a segment is committed to them saying, hey, what exactly are we saying? I'll let you have the advantage, but let's get our story straight so that when we go back, we don't look like liars. And like I understood why Amir did what he did in the first episode. I got from his perspective, but hey, stay just a little longer so we can get our story straight would be the only thing that would be done differently. But even then, he's going to eventually throw Gibble under the bus anyway. So I guess it really doesn't matter if you guys' stories are straight.
Yeah, but I feel like, and we'll get to it in a minute, I feel like Gibble's social capital went up a couple notches based on this episode, so we'll see. All right, the challenge, memory. Coach, how is this challenge?
I like memory, and with this, the only thing is, oh man, it sucks that they can't go back and change it. Like, hey, I'm set. If they get it wrong, the other team gets the point. So that, and I appreciate the way that some people strategize around this. Obviously, jumping to the end, the way that John went about it, and didn't really matter. But John had a not something that I would do, but I thought it was a very intelligent thing to do in that type of situation. But it was a blowout from the start, and if anything, I haven't heard my notes. Amir beats Daniel, Shell messiness, and Will, you probably. So what was it like? It was just
so pretty much what it was is we had a very obvious starfish, and then there was the other shell, which was a circle. It was a big sand dollar. We said their directions say you're recreating what you see. You did not see a star, so you shouldn't pick a star. Oh my God, Daniel was so mad. Like you was like mad, but there was like I believe like between the round, like, hey, can we come here and talk about that? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, honey, I know a shell is a shell, but you did not. We said recreate. You can't put a stick and say, but I thought it was a stone. Like, no, it's a stick is a stick, a stone is a stone. But that's also why we made the challenge that way. We wanted it to be, oh, you just can't run back 75 times and say check, check, check. Well, if you get it wrong, you're giving the other team a point. Like it's really testing who got their memory down and do you trust yourself? Because there were some rounds, it was down and back one time and I know I got it. And you even saw in that Daniel round where Amir ran off and Daniel's at the day and he's like, should I, and then he finally went and, he saw what happened.
How big was the difference?
It's funny because like what you see on the screen, it looks far, but it's way farther in person.
That feels
and it was 80 degrees with no cloud cover.
About an hour or so after the cardio challenge they did in the first episode. So
yeah, there's not a ton of like we at Stranded. We really do. The one day games do what they do well in like as much time as we get, but we try to do something different. So for Stranded, minimum between challenge loss and tribal beginning, we give you guys a half hour. And then tribal takes as long as tribal takes, everyone. So, I mean, I would say there's probably a solid 40, a minimum of 45 between that first challenge and the second one.
That's a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, do you guys want to talk about Troy's empty sack?
Whoa! I didn't know. I thought this was a family-friendly.
Welcome to Stranded After Dark.
And then we were talking about emptying sacks. Lord Jesus.
So Troy thinks he finds something, and I talked to Troy yesterday, and I'm assuming there was nothing found. It was just a prop as part of the challenge.
Absolutely, it was just the burlap bag that we got on special clearance for the challenge. And he, in his mind, very much like Survivor, he saw, very much like most men in my life, they saw a bulge and they went for it.
That's how it happened.
And then when he got the bulge in front of him, he was ultimately disappointed.
Oh, Troy. Okay, so Paul loses, and the kerfuffle starts. So it basically comes down to Gilbert versus Daniel. And I think Steven's in the mix there a little bit, but not so much. Well, as you're watching this, and like we know who is leaving, what are your thoughts?
So as I'm watching it, it's interesting because obviously in the beginning you don't have a ton to go off of, right? We went over this with the first vote. It just so happened Matt got hurt, right? So then he was easy. But now when it's this early, it's still like that was green. Now it's purple doing it, and there's nothing to go off of. So what you kind of start to see happening is, well, we know Steve might have something, and that's all it can take because, you know, like what I don't, maybe we don't show it, but like once they go back to camp, that 30 minutes to strategize starts. So those people at the summit, you know, especially Steve, who's going to tribal, is missing out on those initial talks. And as we know in these short games, sometimes that initial talk is what sticks. So that's also the you know, the downfall of the summit. Yeah, you got something, but you're missing out on those initial conversations. And now you're coming back, and now conversations have to stop. Now you got to tell your story. You're still writing into strategy time. You got less time. So that's like, you know, it makes sense why Steve's name comes up. And you can see this episode really did a good job at showing the different shades of the tribe, where purple is chaos and green is kumbaya, hold hands. And you saw that in how they strategized episode 1 and how the strategy here. Episode 1, it was like, I guess it's Matt. We'll throw Dave out. Okay, cool, done. This one, we had everyone's fucking names thrown out.
I completely skipped the summit. My bad. Sorry, y'all. So Steven and Meg go to the summit, and I don't know. Like, I adore Steven. I just feel like he played his hand too heavily in this. Because I feel like the way the summit is set up is we either both lose our votes or one of us takes an advantage. I would just be like, let's talk this out and figure out how it's going to benefit the other person. I wouldn't just go in there and say, I've never had an advantage and I want this, which is kind of the Gimel approach too. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to come bite Steven in the butt later. With Meg,
it's even pointed out later in the episode, and I think might be Troy. I think it was Troy that said, it's like, oh, Steven talks a lot. Steven talks a lot, and eventually that's going to come back. And so you bring that. I didn't even think about that point, but it's like, yeah, because I was confused where Troy was coming from when he said that. I'm fairly sure it was Troy that said it.
Yeah,
I was confused because I've never played a game with Steven before, and what we've seen so far, it's like, okay, yeah, he talks, but I didn't think anything of it. Then you saying that right now, it's like, no, yeah, that does validate everything that Troy said in that one confessional. And the fact that he wants to play hard the entire time, people look at that kind of stuff. People see that kind of stuff and say, hey, I mean, we get it on this current season of Survivor, where Say is out there from episode 1 all the way to episode 6, just doing a lot. And her name has come up every single time. Now, yes, she has survived. Do I think she's going to win the season? Probably not, because she has been on everyone's target list since the beginning. Steven, you know, from day one or from the pregame interviews, I want to play like this. And he is playing like this. And I do feel like, even though his name didn't get written down in this episode, I don't see that continuing to happen the rest of the season. And yeah, that's the downside to trying to play an aggressive, overly strategic game, is people are going to clock you early.
Yeah, and I don't know, because this is just me how I play, but outfit choice is very important. And I think Steven wearing the Caucus Challenge t-shirt demonstrates I'm not a bullshitter. I'm here to fuck shit up, and I will do it, because I don't know if you guys have seen the Caucus Challenge. Check it out. Those challenges are freaking hard as hell. I would never do the Caucus Challenge because they're so freaking hard. And like,
I do have something to say. When I was watching the premiere of episode 2, the people I was watching it with, that actually did get brought up, because they're like, isn't that kind of a threat? You're basically telling everyone that you're a challenge threat. And someone thought it was like, well, you know, you told a straight white man to bring purple. That might have been the only purple in his whole wardrobe, because he had just played season 16, which was the purple season. So I think it was like fresh on his mind, and it was there. So that's, I think, the outfit choice also. But I think it's also, I actually never, it's funny, I have to ask him. I never really talked to Steven about the outfit choice when he showed up, and I was like, because he could have been on green, he didn't know. What was that? Was it really because that was the only purple thing, or were you trying to like give the girls a little something? I don't know.
Yeah, it also helps drive a little bit of the storyline of John B, Amir, Steven have all played together in this game, which had he not worn that shirt, if they didn't have the Encyclopedia of Gibble, they probably wouldn't have known that.
Right.
Which gets me to the whole kerfuffle. So, because I watched it twice, and I'm still kind of confused on everything when that went down.
Wait, can we go back to the summit real quick?
Yeah, of course.
I want to hear your thoughts as players. Again, the people I was watching that episode with, when they're like, "Oh, I need 2 people for the summit," and then Megan and Steven just kind of show up. When you're playing, are you just allowing people to go? Do you like I get the person I was watching it with was like, wait, they just allowed them to go? Like, no, I want to be the one that goes. Like, what do you think is the best way to play it?
It's hard. And I don't want to, I feel like I don't know.
If you don't want to out yourself, Santi,
Yeah,
I would say if you don't want to, I don't care. I'll say I'm not the type of person that needs advantages, or like I would rather socialize with people. So if someone says they want to go, you can go ahead and go. The only thing I can compare it to is the Currency of the Survivor. Eva's giving her idol away in public to Star. Now, if I'm sitting there watching, other way around. Yeah, Star giving it to Eva. Yeah. If I'm sitting there, it's like, okay, yeah, because now I know Star doesn't have it, Eva has it. If I ever want to target Eva, I just have to make sure that I don't tell Eva or anyone else that she's working with. Star is now fine with me. Here, it's like, okay, yeah, this person could go, they could get a lot, they could get a little, they could get nothing, but at least everyone's now looking at this person as something's up. My perception of this person could be they're an upright, they tell the truth no matter what. Other people could think this is the biggest bullshitter that there is. It's a fun little, okay, it's all about that perception. And so, yeah, let them put themselves in a situation where people have to perceive things about them. I don't want that. I want people to perceive me based off of how I'm talking.
Yeah, and then my other question was, that way we can finish Green out for the rest of the episode, was how Megan dealt with the summit. Because for me, I thought that was maybe one of the more interesting parts of the episode was how her and Steven interacted, and the backup episode title was probably shouldn't have said that. That was almost the episode title.
Hot off the press. Steven just texted me and said, for your information, that was the only purple shirt I owned.
I knew it.
Steven, I'm still going to live in the world where you wore it on purpose because you're a badass. So going back to your question, well, how I would handle it is you have to check the temperature of the tribe. If everybody's like, oh yeah, just go whatever, then I need to figure out a way to do it, because the way the summit is set up is it's arming people with weapons that can be used later on in the game. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to go to a gunfight with a knife. So I need to figure out a way how to get into that summit. I think Meg handled it beautifully, honestly, because she's very well insulated. So the smart thing to do in kind of her situation is don't make any waves, don't like cause a big commotion, and just let your outside people take care of you. And if the shots start getting fired amongst the tribes or however, they'll probably get hit first and she'll be okay. And I think she brought some goodwill with Steven.
Right. But do you think with the flow of information, because Steven left that summit with more than an advantage, he left with information that is and in a one world, information, the flow of information is everything.
Yeah. I don't think it hurt her. I actually think it helped her.
Yeah.
Because it verified a little bit of stuff going on.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, we could be jumping the gun here and she could go home the next episode, but like, I feel like Megan is in a pretty decent spot. I don't think anyone's going to try to come after her right now because, and I think I said this in episode 1, we've got all of these, for better or worse, LRG egos and LRG characters out there at the same time, and they are overly strategizing how to either work very hard with this person or work very hard to get rid of this person. And Megan's not one of those people that everyone's like, yeah, I saw this person play these 5 games and they did this and all of this, so they need to go, or I need to really work with this person. I think that Megan, like, if let's say we stay on the same tribes, if Megan's tribe starts to get decimated a little bit, yeah, she could be in some trouble. But like, let's say this is just a not normal run of the mill. We swap at some point, we merge at some point. I could see Megan getting through because I mean Megan's the type of person that I would want to work with, and I think a lot of people would say the same thing. So yeah, I think that it was a net positive for both, but I actually think that Megan came out even better than Steven, even with his extra advantage, or with his extra vote, which he didn't seem too happy about when he opened the game. So,
Steven wanted an idol.
How do you guys feel about an extra vote? How do you guys feel about an extra vote? Like, would you? I mean, you heard me in the background. I'm like, I could take it back. You hate it so much. How do you guys feel about an extra vote in the game of Survivor?
I think any ammunition that I can get my hands on in a game against other players, I'm going to be happy with it. Like, that's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an advantage person, but if an extra vote falls in my hands, I'm not going to just be like, oh, fuck off, prod. No, this is mine now, and I will try to use it to the best of my ability or to help my allies out. And I feel like he will. Like, I think it was pretty, I don't know, you were there. I felt like it was kind of tongue-in-cheek when he said it, but if it wasn't, yeah, you should have just taken it back. But I do feel like if he does end up using it, I do think he'll use it to the best of his abilities, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to skip past the tribal because there was a lot. And it came down to Gibble and the eliminated player. I have a theory, and I could be completely wrong, but I feel like on Paw Paw Tribe, you have the LRG vets, and then you have like the LRG newbies, or like Brooks, Bex. I mean, I'm saying newbies like haven't played a million games. Bennett, and then I would weaponize Gibble, honestly. Like, Gibble's a plethora of information. Tell me about every player. Let's go. Like, so I think maybe that's kind of where they're thinking on keeping him, but I don't know. Maybe they're not thinking like I do.
Yeah,
what do you guys
think? He's the Shireen of this season. But it's like, oh man, he's seen every LRG that's ever existed and know everyone's place. You can either be annoyed by it and vote him out, or yeah, we're just gonna use you until we get you or you get us, or you help us get them.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't go home this episode, I was fully convinced that this tribe lost directly after last episode, that he was gone and there was no way he's going to survive. And the fact they did, and without no real target on him, I see it as something that could benefit him in the short term. Long term, we'll see.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this cast too, because again, being on the day where we're like, okay, I have a feeling where this is going. And this is what I love about this episode. This really breaks Brooke's character and pushes her to the front and shows you what game she's playing, because, you know, it was kind of up in the air the second, and it went that quickly where, oh, I don't know, and everyone's so great, and da-da-da-da. And Benny goes, so I talked to Daniel, and he doesn't want to vote you this round, but definitely next round because he doesn't trust you. When I say the flip, that Brooke was like, oh, okay, good. Bennett, I'll talk to you later. Bex, let's talk. John V, let's talk. Steven, let's talk. Because like she literally did, like, I forget, I'm trying to think of a Survivor player, but like maybe Sandra, like, oh, you said my name, it's a wrap. Where everything stops and you're gone because my name was said. And we're not gonna, oh, let's try to mend the relation. No, you said my name, it's on. That's it. And literally, it was her doing that moved that whole tribal, which was fascinating. That she had no problem saying, "Oh, I'll say the name. Let's do it."
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where the main traction from Daniel came from, because it wasn't really like it was kind of a lot of that first part of that strategizing segment was a lot of people saying a lot of names and a lot of people saying, "Hey, I feel good with all of these people." It wasn't really this. And when I looked at how much time was left, I'm like, "Wow, this is going to go on for a bit," and it did. But there was a story. It was a shortened story and the larger story of the episode of like, this is how it eventually lands on our booted player. Spoilers. And I feel like the next time I watch the episode, which could be right after this, I'm just gonna imagine a light bulb just sit over Brooke's head as she's being told this, because I remember watching that scene and not thinking much of it, because like, oh yeah, Brooke now knows that Daniel doesn't trust her, but whatever. And it doesn't occur to me until the end of the episode. It's like, oh wow, it could have just come from that moment. You telling us this. So yeah, okay, it all came from this moment. And when we get to the booted player, we'll get it from their perspective. But like, yeah, that's a big move for the second episode of a show. So
I agree. Well, we got to bring him on. So welcome our eliminated player, Daniel.
Hey guys.
Welcome,
Oh my
Daniel. How
gosh.
are you?
I'm great. What an honor, what a privilege to be here amongst such insightful minds. I've been enjoying listening to all of you guys break down this tragic episode.
Very
I was pulling for you.
Thank you. I know, and Santi, I know you had me drafted too. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, because I mean, we go into tribal and like you can tell on your face.
Yeah. I knew.
When did you know?
I knew not pretty early on. I would say about like midway through deliberations, it started to become clear to me in my conversations with John V, with Troy. Those were the two that I probably trusted the most, given our previous relationships. That either I was going to have to like do a lot of work and negotiation or I was just going home. Like they I could see on their faces particularly that it was once I saw that it was like a lost cause kind of. And like like you guys were saying, it kind of caught fire pretty quickly from my perspective, from where like my name was mentioned and I heard that and I was like, okay, well, whatever, we're all mentioning names, to then it was like, oh, it's a lock, like it's me.
Yeah. So let's talk about the challenge. Well, actually, let me back up. You played a couple LRGs. You're a little bit of a pro at this. You get to Stranded. It's episode 1, and it's that opening challenge. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I hate you, Will. I hate you, Will. I hate you, Will. Because no, actually, we had a plan, because I am like running, and I'm not. It's just not for me. I just cannot run. So like, we had a plan that we were going to alternate. I know we had a plan though. We were going to alternate a strong runner, a weak runner, a strong runner, a weak runner, so that I could pass on. I could tap out of the challenge pretty quickly and pass my bag on to someone ahead of me or behind me. The whistle goes. John takes off like a jackrabbit. His bracelet snaps, and all of a sudden, I'm holding 2 bags in the front of the line, and I now am responsible for keeping this train going for however, I mean, for the next 5 hours it felt like, but apparently it was only 4.5 minutes or something like that. But it felt like 5 hours of running. Yeah, so that was not ideal. I felt a little depleted from that, because just as a guy in his mid 40s, who doesn't really run a lot, I do other things, but not really a lot of running. That was not ideal. So, and then, yeah, but anyway, we won, so it was all gravy. It was good.
Yeah, you led the tribe to victory, like literally.
Yeah,
And then they
yeah.
they did that
And,
horrible,
and
horrible
I will
thing.
say too, I will say too, in my defense, not only did I lead the tribe to victory in that one, I was the only one, even though I was wrong, I was the only one to call for a check on the second one as well. So I had the advantage, the time advantage, at least on that one, at least anyway. I just had the shells, the shape of the shells. Got to go back to kindergarten for my shapes, I guess. But that's the
Let's
game.
talk about the shells, Daniel.
Yeah.
Any other unfinished business you want to say to Will about the shells?
I'm at peace with it now. I recognize, the error of my ways, but in my game brain, it was just like, that's a shell, that's a shell, that's a stick, that's a bag, and I did not make any distinction about the shape of the shells. And then, yeah, I went a little hot when they told me I was wrong. I got a little hot, and I definitely asked for clarification, and can we reassess this? Obviously at that point it was a
But let me
lost
tell you
cause.
something though. That is why you were cast. You have passion. You know what I mean? We cast everyone for a reason. You have a love and a passion for this game. If you were a wet rag, we don't cast wet rags on Stranded. So when you were pissed off, yes, in the moment I'm like, sorry, girl, it was wrong. But inside I'm like, yes, because you gave a shit about it. And if you were like, whatever, it's different. But you showed
Yeah.
passion. You cared, and
Yes.
that's why you were cast. So
Yes.
you're giving what we wanted.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that helps soften the blow for sure. Thank you.
So Paul loses,
Yeah.
and it's time to decide who goes to the summit. Explain to us this, because Will talked about it earlier, but like, how come we didn't stand up and say, "Hey, I would like whatever is over there"?
Yeah, I was hoping to for two things, I think. I was hoping, number one, that I would be somewhat insulated by some pregame relationships that I had, that I felt like I knew three people. Stephen, I kind of like, I've met him at some viewing parties. Like, I don't know him that well, but like I kind of felt like I've been in group chats, I've played online games, I've played live games with Troy, with John. Like, I felt like I've got some insulation here. I don't need to stick my neck out early. I don't need to like get a target on my back by going to the summit. And the other thing was just, I wanted to play a little bit from the middle, for the first part of the game, and not, again, not kind of stick my neck out, and not kind of like. So anyway, I in the moment, it didn't even really like cross my mind that Stephen had kind of been almost like, almost like presumptuous, that I like watching the episode. I was like, oh, I don't remember him just like walking out like that and just being like, yeah, it's me. I don't remember that. And so like, I think I was just so crestfallen by like the defeat that we had, and I was still probably stewing about the shells, and I didn't really like, don't put me on the mole, because my powers of perception when it comes to things like that are just not there. So I just didn't really clock it, to be honest with you. Like, I don't have a memory of that moment.
I don't know. If Steven came out with that craziness, I'd have been like, "Let's go to rock paper scissors," because
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had noticed it, or not been so sort of spiraling in my head at that moment, and because obviously in retrospect it would have been helpful to have some sort of something, that might have, maybe not an extra vote, that might not have helped me, but something might have helped me in the.
But I think too, like that's what I mean, obviously it's tough looking back at players, but like how we built the summit of being a volunteer is every person that's sitting on the vote out bench had an opportunity. If I just because you're sitting here in front of me, but like you had two opportunities to go. And because you decided to play Tribe Strong and cutesy, you passed up an idol and an extra vote.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's what I love about this, like the back,
But like, but the fact that Gibble went to that first tribal also, I feel like, put like an easy target on him. That, not an easy but like it's somewhat of a target on him, that like I just don't need. Like, I was coming off of the summer before being the first one voted out of season 7 of Survivor New York, licking my wounds, from that, wanting redemption, and just being like, I just want to like I don't want to like blend into the background here, but I just don't want to like be, you know, an early boot again. And then, you know, I sort of, I guess, manifested that, I guess, but whatever.
Well, so I want
Actually, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something funny, actually, because we were talking. We're just kind of talking like in between challenges or whatever. I think I actually was talking to Brooke about this, but we were talking like the other tribe. Bakalakaka had just gone to tribal. We'd seen Matt go, and I was like, wow, Matt is like the first boot ever of Stranded. Like he'll be remembered as the first person to ever be booted. And I was like, it's gonna suck for whoever's the second one to be booted out of, you know, Stranded. Like nobody remembers the second boot. Like it like literally manifested. And I think it was Brooke that I said that to, even, which is so ironic. But yeah.
and that's where I was going to go with my question is. So, were you not trusting Brooke? Was that embellished? Where did the whole thing of you not trusting Brooke come from?
Where indeed did that come from? Because I have maintained, and I will maintain until my dying day, I did not say anything negative about Brooke in my conversation with Bennett. Now, he claims that I did, and he remembers other things about our conversation clearly. So I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm not saying he's stirring stuff up. It is just a question of his word versus mine, I think. And one of us is right and one of us is wrong, but there is no footage. There is no, like, there's literally no record of this conversation. So I claim and will continue to claim that because that he somehow fudged it where somebody else. There's a comment here. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, she thought I was some sort of mastermind as well. Yes, which is ironic also. But yeah, I think that that it's either he's telling the truth, and I did say something about Brooke, and I just have like zero memory of it, but I remember other things from our conversation, or he got it mixed up with some other conversation that he had. I don't know. And I even said in my exit interview after I got voted out that I really liked Brooke and wanted to work with her. There's literally like no record of me saying that I didn't like Brooke and that I didn't trust her. So it's just very frustrating for me that this snowballed so much.
Well, I think also this is what I think. I mean, and it's a theory. I think it's also about perception, right? So even though you didn't say to Bennett's face, "I don't trust Brooke, I want her out," if he perceived that you were maybe not 100% on her, then when it's a game of telephone, right? So he perceives something. Then when he relays it to Brooke, it turns into, well, he said I didn't trust you.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I never did that. You perceived it that way, but that's not really what I meant. And I think that is the piece that got you.
Right, and once that happens, as you know, we know as people who've played these games, who've watched these games, who've produced these games, you know, once that happens, especially in those early rounds, that's very, very hard to get out from. Yeah.
Everybody wants to latch on to anything immediately because they don't want to make any waves. I have another update from Steven because apparently he can't comment in the YouTube chat. So he gave his explanation as to what happened with the summit. He said, I wanted to go to the summit the first round, but I hesitated. And then Gil asked to go first. Then I knew the second round, I would immediately ask the tribe to go, and nobody seemed to care both rounds. So they let whoever asked first to go. So there's the explanation. Next time, ask first, people.
Yeah.
Checks out.
All right, well, let's talk about the spicy tribal. You know you're going. What's going through your mind as this is all kind of happening, and you're getting to tribal and you're sitting down?
Well, there's so much chatter still going on that I'm like, do I have a chance here? Like, am I thinking that I'm going home and there's something else happening here that like I'm not looped in on, but like it didn't seem like a foregone conclusion to me. And so I think you see that a little bit in my voting confessional where I was like, maybe there's like a little bit of like hope here that somehow like in the last minute there was a reprieve and somebody, you know, advocated for me and they had to whisper at tribal because the kerfuffle was significant. I mean, it was really like and at that point I think at that point I think I was really spiraling, you know, about possibly being the one to get voted out at this tribal, and I felt like I had kind of made my pitch, and I just couldn't think of like what else to say to to sort of jump into the kerfuffle. So I just kind of I froze, like I went into like freeze mode, I think.
Do you regret not joining said kerfuffle?
Yeah. But at that point, I actually talked. I asked Troy afterwards. I think it was Troy. I asked afterwards. I was like, "What was all that was going on? Like, was there a chance that I wasn't going home, or was it like a done deal?" And he said, "No, it was pretty much just finalizing, like that because there had been other decoy names thrown out. It was just people finalizing that, like, no, actually, those decoy names were just decoys, and it is Daniel." So. There really wasn't any hope for me there at that point. So with that in mind, like I don't really regret it, but I do feel like I could have done a little bit of a better job. I guess making the pitch that what I regret is that like there's an understandable like sentiment in these early rounds of the game that you want to have unanimous votes, that in the early rounds you want the tribe to be like rallied around somebody, and Troy Bussy, yes, you want to sort of rally around somebody so that you can go into the next challenge like with unity and sort of with tribe spirit and stuff like that. And I wish I had sort of like made a case that like it doesn't have to be like, it's pretty soon it's going to be factions, it's going to be alliances, it's going to be groups of people. It's not going to be unanimous after this for very long. So like let's start it now. Like those people that are with me, let's see if we can get something going, and then we can be on the top of the tribe and pick the others off. So I wish I'd done a better job of sort of shaping that a little bit, but it's understandable. You do want those early votes to sort of be unanimous, if that makes sense.
I was really looking forward to you guys' Golden Girl Alliance. Like, honestly.
Yeah. And then we could loop in my son, Stephen Lupo as well. We could get him in on it.
Somebody please on the internet, because I know there's a graphic designer out there, please make a Golden Girls photo with Daniel, Troy, John B, and Steven. If you don't know whose characters they should be, ask a gay friend.
Well, I also along those lines, though, I was looking forward. I've known Dave for a while as well on Vakla Kaka, another older golden oldie, and I was really looking forward to playing with him and really rooting for him to do well. But that was not in the cards for us. But
you knew we were never going to put you and the tribe together.
Oh, but
Daddy Dave,
yeah.
His parts.
Yeah, Daddy Dave. Yep.
Okay, so I have a very important question, Daniel. The viewers, me, want to know, how many strategy sessions did you have in the porta potty?
I had that was my office. I had strategy sessions with everybody. I said, "Come on in," and we just sat opposite each other. No, unfortunately there was zero, but like there were zero strategy sessions in the porta potties. But the reason why it popped into my head was because the subtitle of the season, Nowhere to Hide, there really wasn't anywhere to hide on that property. There are no places to go. You're just out in the open. It is literally a one world situation. So that was kind of why my brain went there. I was like just looking for anywhere private, just to kind of like have a whispered conversation with somebody. Plus, like nobody was really doing a lot of like one-on-ones before we had to, which was kind of frustrating as well. I tried to have a couple of little like murmured conversations with Steven and John, and Troy, and I winked at each other a couple of times, but like nobody was really doing that. And I think that's why Brooke kind of thought I was some sort of mastermind, because I did a couple of times like have these little whispered conversations around the water, the cooler or whatever, with people, trying to be subtle, but that's not my strong suit.
I have a question for you, Daniel, because we couldn't ask this last week because Matt had never played a game. Do you think the way we did One World threw a lot of the more seasoned players, and that's why like especially those first couple rounds, like y'all really just sat there and stared at each other from across the yard. Do you think it threw a lot of you? Like, how was you like when you realized the twist? Like, was it hard to play within that?
I have actually. I will say. I don't think this is ever going to see the light of day. So I will. Not this, but another game. I played in season 4 of Survivor Buffalo, which was also a one world setup. So that was something I had experience with before. They did some interesting things with it, but what I found and what I sort of carried then into Stranded once I found out that this was a one world game also was that um, from my perspective, like there's just not enough time to make use of the one world. Like you are just there, you just have to like, unless once you get later into the rounds, I wouldn't know about that, but like maybe once you get later into the rounds, it becomes more interesting. But in the early rounds, you really have to prioritize. Like if I'd wandered off and go to talk to Dave on the other tribe, like that's death for me. Like so like there's just not. If we're out there 3 days, 4 days, and it's one world, and it, like you've got some time to kill, and like maybe you go over and chat to the other tribe. So it was a little bit of like what do we do with this? I think more than throwing people, it was more a little bit of like how do we take advantage of this in a way that like is not going to just immediately sink us. So there were a few times where the whole both tribes all came together to sort of chat together like that. But there wasn't really, in the time that I was there wasn't really any time to kind of establish one-on-one connections with anybody on the other tribe.
Well, one world's here to stay at Stranded, so
yeah.
Players watching, get used to it.
Yeah. Make some plans about how you're gonna make that work, because it could be very interesting there. I mean, I'm saying the other players, not you guys, but it could be very interesting. You could I think with knowing that information, you could come up with some interesting things to do.
Most definitely. All right, Daniel, we're ending to the top of the
All
hour.
right. Yeah.
Time to say your final words, goodbyes, and let us know what you're up to. Can we see you somewhere this summer? Any things in the work that you could talk about? What's going on?
Yeah, thank you guys so much again for having me on. Huge thank you to Will for casting me in season 1 of Stranded. It was a joy, despite the running. It was a joy, and I think applications are closed now. I would but in future seasons, everybody please apply to play. I've been looking forward to having a New Jersey-based Survivor LRG for a long time, so I'm so glad that I was able to be part of I think the one, at least that I know of, that's in my neck of the woods, at least anyway. And I try to play one game a year, but after I sort of went through a few rough years there, the last couple of years, I sort of wanted to get a little distance from the LRG community, but I have put in a couple of applications for this year, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So watch this space.
Awesome. Okay. Good news. Good to hear. Look forward to seeing you again. Hopefully further than first and second.
Yes, that's hope. Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
I would say this, Dan. People remember second boots.
Okay.
Yes. I'll let anybody.
I also want to just throw in for Daniel here. What I love is, yes, maybe you didn't do as well as you wanted, but even in your short time, I think you were able to prove something to yourself, because that first challenge, you guys would not have won if it wasn't for you. If you would have stumbled or whatever, and then had to give 3 bags to someone behind you, I don't think you would have won. So by you saying, oh, I was the weak runner, I was second, well, you thought you were the weak runner, but you ended up being the strongest runner. So take that with you. So even though you didn't get as far, I hope you at least take being like, I underestimated myself, and I was still able to prove myself wrong and do something that I didn't think I was able to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. That really warms my heart. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Daniel. Even I know that.
Will and I, we've I think formed a nice bond, in our short time together. I think I adore Will. He's great, and you're doing a great job with these episodes. They're just phenomenal. Also, so.
I'm trying, girl.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, Coach Drew. What are you up to? What's going on? Anything you want to plug? Anything you do?
Follow Mucky Hope Productions on Instagram and YouTube and Spotify. We're covering Survivor Australia, US Survivor. We're going to be doing a Survivor Australia marathon this summer. Not 40. Not that. We're going to be splitting it up. Like it's going to be like however many seasons and like months. But we're doing that this summer. And no LRGs on the docket. I'm good for a couple of years. But see me in 2030. We'll be back.
Nathan, I would love to do rankings. You're right in the middle for me. And Troy's at top, as is John V. Who else? Bex is up there, as well as Brooke, because that last episode.
It kind of sounds like everyone.
Ethan's up there.
Everyone's up there.
Everybody's up there.
This cast really delivered.
Yes, it's high caliber players. Like every single player is a very, very, very good player. World's going to take us out, but I do want to thank you guys once again for giving me the opportunity to host this podcast and spend time with you guys. Stranded applications have ended, but I do want to do a quick plug. If you are a fan of Survivor New York, their applications open next week. I highly recommend it to anyone who is brand new to LRGs. It is a great dip your toe in type of LRG. The challenges are amazing. The crew's amazing. Everything about it is amazing. 3 of us are alumni. Well, did you play? No, right?
Well,
me?
No, okay. So 3 of us are alumni. And also, guys, if you like the smiling face, please go to midwestcharitytrials.org and donate to my fundraiser for the LRG I am playing this June. I'll stop talking about it after June is over. Thank you guys again. It has been a great night. Will, take us out.
So, 2 things. I'm going to leave you two, Santi and Drew, with a little tease for what's going on next episode. It's a double. So I'll leave you with that. And I am so excited to talk about this next thing. So yes, casting has officially ended. We extended. I can reveal that we locked cast right before this. We have a season 2 cast. And speaking of season 2, I can now reveal something that's been kept under wraps. I've been now allowed to talk about. Season 2 is going to be really special and interesting because we're going to film episodes like we normally do. So I'll have my film crew there. But there's going to be a secondary film crew at season 2. The secondary film crew will be the LRG documentary because Stranded did officially over 30 games applied. They only casted a few. Stranded season 2 is part of that. So we are officially part of the LRG documentary. Awesome. Where that means, where it goes, we'll all have to see. I will be putting it all out on socials. And we are the first game to announce that we're part of it. So I want to be number 1. So
that is awesome. That's so cool.
Congrats.
Awesome. Great news, guys. And what a great way to go out. So good night, everyone. And check out LRG Casting on Instagram, Facebook, all of the socials. And also follow Stranded on Instagram and YouTube. And check out new episodes. Will, what are you thinking?
In a couple weeks.
In a couple
weeks. It all depends on that schedule.
Got it. I may or may not be back, but we'll see you guys. Have a good night.
See ya.